In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
For our own cause, we got a pen and telephone to bypass.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Now get set again.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, WNJC 1360 in Philly, and around the world on the Internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AMFM247.com. And joining me today is the exceptional one, the exceptional conservative from Washington, D.C., and that must be Kenneth McClinton. Ken, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Rick, it's always good to be in the presence of the affable, lovable, benevolent dictator that you are, and all the great people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and as well Delaware, and around the world with all of our great listeners of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network.
And it is indeed my honor, my privilege, and my great fun to share this forum with you, Kenneth. And what's on your radar screen this day, my friend?
Well, Wednesday was a big day for people that were pushing back on Black Lives Matter. Of course, I was giving testimony before the D.C. City Council on my daughter's death. But Richard Sherman was standing up before the media and stating that he did not understand the Black Lives Matter. This great all-star football player is standing up to the political correctness of the NFL, and he's receiving a great deal of sensational discouragement and criticism as we speak this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ken, I think you and I have spoken before about my feelings about Black Lives Matter. I think all lives matter. And indeed, Black lives, if they do matter to this group, to any individuals out there, then why aren't they out there protesting in front of every Planned Parenthood clinic today? Where are they, Ken? And until they do that, in my opinion, they're being hypocrites, because that's where the majority of Black lives are being ended.
Exactly. Over 1,800 black babies die in Planned Parenthood clinics around the world, and it's not because they're receiving cancer treatment or preventative health care. They're being aborted. Richard Sherman said during his press conference, as a black man, I do understand that Black Lives Matter. Sherman said, I stand for that. I believe in that wholeheartedly. But I also think there's a way to do things. And I think the issue at hand needs to be addressed internally before you move on. From personal experience, living in the hood, living in the inner city, you deal with things. You deal with people dying. I dealt with a best friend getting killed, and it was two 35-year-old black men with no police officer involved. Wasn't anybody else involved, and I didn't hear anybody shouting Black Lives Matter then. When my daughter died on Good Hope and Naylor Road, I did not see Al Sharpton come out. I did not see Jesse Jackson come out, and I didn't get a phone call from the President of the United States of America. Maybe if she had made a digital clock, that would have altered things. But the bottom line is he's absolutely right, and I believe I'm right as well.
Ken, why don't you explain to our audience what you mean by the digital clock comment you made?
Apparently, a gentleman who has run twice for the presidency of the Sudan had a son who was making for his school project a digital clock. Uh-huh. Unfortunately, in Houston, the young lad brought the clock to school, and it was presumed to be a ticking device for a bomb. Mm. He was arrested, and later, after being released, was advised that the President of the United States wanted him to visit the White House as a result of their concern that he may have been arrested because he was Islam or Mohammedan. That was not the case at all. There was a concern by the science teacher in the classroom about what was made. It looked like a bomb-type device, and he wanted to make certain for the safety of the children.
Well, Ken, let me stop you for a minute. Let's say for a moment this teacher didn't. Just think of the outrage if, in fact, this was some kind of a device, an explosive device. You know, we didn't pick this fight, Ken. This fight was brought to us. This fight has been brought to our shores. And not only are black children in school being scrutinized, but white students, Chinese students, Asian students, all students are being scrutinized these days of what they bring to school. In a backpack, or in a book, or a toy, or in their lunch. There's a lot of scrutiny going on, and I think some of it is warranted. Now, if this teacher did nothing, and this thing was a clock, I'm sure somebody would have said to that teacher, gee, what if that was an explosive device? Why didn't you check his device out? I mean, this teacher was in a no-win situation. But is Barack Obama going to invite every child to the White House that is suspended from school for any particular reason? I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it very seriously. You have to. There are certain qualifiers you have. First and foremost, you must be Islam. Secondly, you must be in a Democrat city, and then lastly, you must make certain that this is the biggest news story you can get for the week. And so, congratulations, he got all three of them.
Well, just unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
Absolutely. I wonder if the child who won the science fair will be invited to the White House.
Oh, that's a great question. And if, Ken, if any child should be invited to the White House, it should be that child. But Ken, we can't have any winners anymore, because that means if you have a winner, you certainly have losers, and we can't do that. It's more likely that Barack Obama would invite all the losers to the White House than the winner. After all, let's not applaud exceptionalism.
Exactly. And he probably will invite a whole lot of losers in the coming weeks before the government shuts down. He'll probably invite Speaker of the House Boehner, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Yeah, he'll probably invite a whole lot of losers to the White House before we get to any winners.
Shut it down, shut it down, shut it down.
Shut it down.
Ken, I am not a big fan of, Jesse Ventura. He was the governor of Minnesota. I think he's off the wall much of the time. But the one thing that he did do, which I think was great, is he did shut the government of Minnesota down, because he said when a legislature gets together, that's when problems happen. So that's one of the things. It's one of the few things that Jesse Ventura did do that I liked and I applauded. I don't know why we have a full-time legislature anyway, because what happens when you have full-time legislatures? Then they have to justify their existence.
Exactly. And what I told the city council on Wednesday night, and I'll talk about that editorial in just a moment, was simply, unless you plan on executing the law, don't pass any.
There you go. There you go, Ken. That was poetic. Unless you intend to uphold the law, don't pass any new laws. That's beautiful, Ken. That is beautiful. What was their response?
There was shock and awe and utter silence in the hall, in that particular room. Literally, I don't think in all of the years of the city council, anyone had ever chastised them and held them accountable for not only their actions, but their inaction. And there was a lot of room for individuals to take a pointed finger. But of course, in science and politics, pointed fingers only work in the opposite direction. So they had decided to do public health criminal justice. And I don't know what
public health criminal justice. What is that, Ken? Explain that to us, Kenny.
That is giving money to community organizers to keep them quiet, and posters in the neighborhood to do what they do best, nothing. We're about to spend $23 million to find out we can't do what they think they can do. Amazing. Simply amazing.
That is incredible. God. Must be so frustrating for someone like yourselves.
It is very frustrating. And like you in Philadelphia and in New Jersey, you see it every single day. And it's not just related to a party. There seems to be a real political class in America that feels that they have abject authority over what you earn, can spend it on what they desire, and can look you dead in the eye and lie to you and tell you that they are doing something when they're doing absolutely nothing, and then blame you because they don't get results. It's amazing. What did we do to create this type of tyranny?
I'll tell you exactly what we do to get this type of tyranny, Ken. We keep doing the same dumb things over and over again. For instance, electing the same politicians who do nothing over and over and over again.
Yes, exactly. And when you look at inner city, whether it's Philadelphia, New York, D.C., Chicago, L.A., Dallas, Atlanta, where we broadcast, literally, you will find individuals who have been in office 30 and 40 years and doing the same thing and voting the same vote. Listen, it's time to get those guys home for the weekend. Let them take the rest of their lives off. Let's get some new blood in there that believes in principles and values.
Well, it might take term limits, but we've had that conversation before. We'll continue to have it in the future, Ken. But I honestly do think it's going to take term limits because this electorate, I mean, when you look at the 50 worst cities in America, just about every one of them are run by the Democrat Party. And it's been decades since there has been a Republican. And I'm not saying Republicans are the answer, Ken, because there's a lot of bad Republicans out there, too. You don't have to look any further than John Boehner or Mitch McConnell to see that. But we do need new blood. We do need new thinking. Hey, Ken, we're going to take our break, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360, and around the world, the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7, and they are all .coms. Today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment and protected by the Second. Don't go away, Ken and I will be right back.
They say I'm lucky, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. the Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Yes, you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and yours truly, Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., you can log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. You can also hear our show any time of the day from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. And if you're listening to those crass commercial announcements, yes, the Conservative Commandos radio network is expanding. And if you have a show that you would think would fit into our lineup, please refer that show to me, or if you are a producer of a show and you'd like to bring them to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, please contact me, Rick Trader, through Facebook, or send an email to me at rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com, or you can contact us through our websites, which are ccrshow.com. And Ken, what kind of schedule did you put together for us today?
Well, we have a truly tremendous show today. We're going to be visited by our good friend Alexander Miluski, who is running for U.S. Senate in the great state of Arizona. We want to talk about Senator John McCain demanding that the U.S. place Syrian refugees, no, not the mothers and the children, grown military-age, terrorist-age men. We also want to talk today at 4:05 with Michael Thompson, who is one of WND.com book and social media manager for WND. He's an author for WND.com. We'll be talking about Biden time. Yes, people, it's Biden time. And I'm quite certain the great people for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania are looking forward to their dear son running for the presidency of the United States.
Not the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the state of Delaware.
Delaware.
Got to correct you on that one, Ken.
No, well, he's from Scranton.
That's where he was born. He was born in Scranton, but he now lives in Delaware. He was a senator from Delaware. But you're right. He was born in Scranton.
Y'all erased him from the annals of Pennsylvania history.
Yeah, I wonder how many people are really proud of that one. I don't know.
And then the great Professor William Anderson from Frostburg State University will be joining us. He did a heroic piece in Mises Daily. If you get a chance to go back, everyone, and read it. Progressive era economics and the legacy of Jim Crow. And you will finally see in this particular writing how the economists and financial connoisseurs of the heyday married the eugenists and social order individuals of that same day, back FDR time, and how today we are still living in the afterburners of the progressive era and Jim Crow period. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do need a change. So We've got a big, powerful show today.
Indeed we do. Indeed we do. Hey, Ken, did you watch the debates?
No, I didn't get a chance to. I was at the hearing, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, guess what? Neither did I. It's more fun for me. You know, Ken, that debate was 3 hours long. 3 hours long. That's an entire evening. Okay, what I preferred to do is to watch the debate highlights, quite frankly, and the analysis of the debates. I think you learn more there than you do from the debate itself. But I'll tell you, in my opinion, who the winner was.
Who was the winner?
Donald Trump. Do you know why?
Why?
44% of the questions asked at the debate were about Donald Trump. You tell me who you think the winner was.
I think Donald Trump was the winner as well. I tell you who I think the loser was, because I didn't hear much about him. Jeb Bush. I tell you.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
It was really pathetic. I saw a picture of the debate prep, and he was standing next to Donald Trump and one other person, and then he stood on his tippy toes to show that he was taller than those individuals. And I just thought, really, this is really, really pathetic. After a period of being a good governor, if this is the only thing you got left, we ain't got much in the gas tank.
Well, there are a lot of people who like Jeb Bush, considering there's about 340 million people in the country. There's at least a couple thousand of them that like Jeb Bush. So, God bless him.
I hope he becomes the president of whatever their small village is.
Who knows? Who knows? Hey, Ken, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, just don't want to see Jeb Bush as president of the United States. I mean, amphetamine business would increase dramatically. I have never heard a gentleman running for the presidency who seems so dour and so uninterested in the position.
I can think of one. How about that Mitt Romney 4 years ago? I really didn't think he was that interested in running 4 years ago, Ken.
The rhinos have a theme going here. Bob Dole, John McCain, Jeb Bush. If you're lethargic and pathetic, there's a place for you in the Republican Party.
Yeah, you can continue this couple steps longer. And I've talked about here in the Conservative Commandos radio show. Seems like the Republicans always like to nominate last time's loser. Okay? So Mitt Romney lost before, John McCain lost before, Bob Dole lost before, George Bush, lost before, you can go on and on and on and on and on. Last time's loser.
Let's just hope that that the world doesn't get so demurred that it doesn't consider Donald Trump and Ben Carson as well as Carly Fiorina as options here. Because actually, when you look at the statistics, those three take up all the oxygen in the room.
Well, every candidate there is flawed. If you would ask me who I favor at this point, I'll tell you that I favor Ted Cruz and Scott Walker a little bit. But we're still almost, I guess we're about a year away from picking a nominee. And a lot could happen. A lot could happen even before now in the start of the caucuses and the primary elections next year. So a lot can happen. But it's very interesting. I think if Donald Trump has done anything, boy, can you imagine how little interest there would be if there wasn't a Donald Trump in the race?
Oh my! It would be boring.
It would be boring.
Absolutely
I mean,
boring. It would be Jeb Bush-like.
I mean, it would be Morgue-like, right?
Exactly. Extremely boring.
Hey, Ken, we got about a minute. Anything else you want to bring up before we have to go for our next break?
Yeah, I do want to encourage people to go to my blog spot, The Voice of Liberty, to read the testimony that I gave on Wednesday night. And it's very important. I just want to say this to each and every person who's listening tonight. If you don't hold your government officials accountable for what they do and don't do, then you have given them the ultimate privilege of tyranny.
Yes.
And we are a free country and a free people, and they don't deserve to be in a post in our culture if they don't serve. If they rule, they need to go. If they serve, they can stay.
Yeah. Well, Ken, I think they absolutely depend on the apathy of the voter and the people that they represent.
Exactly.
I really do. We will, take our next break, and since I'm running everything alone here again, which I'm not supposed to be doing, but that's just the way it is here at WNGC 1360. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM FM 24/7, and they are all.coms. Check out our website, ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. On the other side, we'll be talking with our first guest, Alexander McCluskey.
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night at Concord Bridge in Trenton. For freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our constitution, we must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. With your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Ken McClinton and yours truly, Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of our shows, you can check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or from your telephone. You can call 832-999-1199. You don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. But there are many ways you can hear our shows. Ken McClinton, we are waiting for our next guest, Alex Malusky, to call us, and we're going to get him on the line very, very shortly. But in the meantime, Ken, anything else on your radar screen?
Yeah, in fact, there is a growing concern in this particular country that the Federal Reserve is more consumed with protecting the legacy of President Obama than actually dealing with the financial crisis of this particular country. We heard earlier this week that Janet Yellen and the more liberal governors of the Federal Reserve determined that our robust recovery was so great that they could not raise interest rates at this particular time period. There has been a catcall amongst those who are, I would say, Mises-oriented economists or thinkers, that we have a scenario in which job growth has not risen above 200,000 jobs in the past 2 months. In addition to that, we have a inflation rate that's beginning to grow. And we have China and other nations around the world, including the European zone, that are slipping quickly into a recessionary period. And so with all that said and done, when all the numbers seem to be in the right order for them to do the right thing and raise interest rates, they have determined that this is not the time period. Now, normally you would only raise interest rates in a robust economy, number one, so I don't understand why they're not raising them now. Number two, if they're not raising them, they're certainly not giving the justifiable reason not to raise them. And quite frankly, we've seen other nations like China lower their interest rate in order to spur an economy. Well, if we have such a robust economy, then we should be doing the exact opposite. So it's time now for the Federal Reserve and others around the country to stop BSing us on the financial matters of this country and be honest and open with us that we have a very, very slow economy that's not producing the number of jobs necessary, and thus the incidents that are happening on Wall Street are an exact understanding of what our future will be like in the next 6 to 7 months.
Hey, Ken, we do have our first guest with us, so I have to put you on hold briefly and bring you back in together. And Ken, go ahead, make the introduction, please.
Well, this great man I had an opportunity to meet in Vegas at the conference that we were attending back then, Freedom Fest. And he is a great lover of our Constitution and certainly a great lover of our country. Without further ado, I want to introduce to some and present to others Alexander Malusky, who is running for the U.S. Senate out in the great state of Arizona. Good day, sir. Great to have you here on Conservative Commando's radio network.
It is great to be on, and thank you so much for such a wonderful, kind introduction. I certainly appreciate it, my friend.
Well, you are a great and affable man, and we really appreciate your time here today. I bet you voted twice for John McCain.
Oh man, why does everybody have to go that route? No, I did not vote for John McCain.
Senator John McCain has come under some concern from those of us on the right that he's playing both sides of the fence when it comes to the Syrian refugee. First he was against, now he is for. But recently he used the picture of a Syrian child who had drowned to death, although we found out later on that his father's inept usage of the vehicle or the vessel was the reason why the child drowned. But he used that picture to justify our moral responsibility to take in refugees from overseas. I want to ask you, sir, first and foremost, where is in the Constitution does it tell us that we must take in refugees? And are you of the same opinion as John McCain?
I have not seen it anywhere within our Constitution where we have to do that, my friend, and it's only 4,500 words. I've caught John McCain not knowing some things that are in there that he hasn't been able to find, but that's definitely one that's not in there, to the best of my knowledge.
Now, the justification is, listen, we are a great and tyrannical country. We have done so much harm with capitalism, constitutionalism, conservatism, and Christianity around the world. We have literally been terrorists to the world. Why can't we allow these gentlemen between the ages of 18 and 24 to leave the battlefield, to leave the land of the Middle East and come here and build and live and dwell?
Well, I'd say there was a poll done back in 2014 for, I believe, the refugees in Syria, and about 14% of them, I think it was, that were leaning towards supporting ISIS or had affiliations with them, and the numbers have to be up. But 90% of these people that are looking to come over here are male, and they seem to be very heavily in that age bracket of 18 to 24. I don't know if it makes sense. I mean, Lindsey Graham and his buddy John McCain are the ones that wanted to just give them an open entry here to the United States of America. Here's my question. They're in the Middle East. Aren't there areas within the Middle East where they could go, where they could be better taken care of, and where if humanitarians want to assist, they could do that, but where they would be in a land where their religion would be more prominent, where their languages would be more prominent, where they would have a better chance to go back into their countries of origin, where they'd probably like to go when things become settled. If there's a genocide going on somewhere within the world, absolutely it is our moral responsibility to take a look at that and make efforts. But no, to just take people into this country, and the left will probably get angry if people did come to this country, they'd have to assimilate. Well,
I agree wholeheartedly with you, Alex. This is what I believe. If your country is big and bad enough and is expecting $150 billion to help you in building your nuclear war arsenal, then you should be big and bad enough to take in some of your brethren who are suffering in these beleaguered cities. Rick Trader tells me that we have over 15 million illegals here already. We've done our part. Do you have any of those illegals with you in Arizona?
I'm sure we have many of them. Yes, we are one of the most gracious countries of leaving our doors open and welcoming people here legally or illegally. Yeah, our doors are open. Let's just say that the Arizona budget 2-3 years ago was about $9 billion. 2.2 of it went to illegals. So that's definitely not the way that it needs to go. I just don't understand why we want to make it easier for potential terrorist acts to happen in the United States. If they desperately need help, then it is our option, if we so see it as just humanitarians, as a private industry, or with other countries to say, hey, if there's a problem, we can take care of it. But like Lindsey Graham, they just want to allow, they said, keep ISIS out. Well, if we bring them in here, that's definitely opening up to, well, it just does not make sense to me, simply put.
Exactly.
Simply put.
And I know we're getting ready to go to a break, but I really believe, and you don't have to say it, but I'll say it, I don't think that if you don't have the processes, the proper processes for vetting a group of people coming into your country, maybe they shouldn't come. Listen, we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios. We're talking with Alex Malusky, who's running for the U.S. Senate out in Arizona. Listen, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia and around the world on the Internet, with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM FM 24/7. They are all.com. Now you can listen to our show at any time on our websites, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. When we come back, is it possible that John McCain may not be in the U.S. Senate after the next election? We'll be back.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's not a deal. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
If you would like to hear rebroadcast of today's most excellent show, please check out our websites, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.crshow.com. On mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. We are talking today with Alex Malusky, who is running for the U.S. Senate in Arizona. Alex?
Yes, I am
Thank
here.
you so much for being with us today. Listen, there seems to be concern in the John McCain campaign that maybe the polls are not necessarily trending right. You know, there might be some statistical errors. There might be some problems. Can you shed a little light on what's happening with John McCain's polling in Arizona?
Absolutely. John McCain's been in office for over 32 years now. He's in his 33rd year. If you include his 4 years in the House and his 28 plus in the Senate. If you look at the national polls for the presidential races, you can see that, well, simply put, the people that are the highest in the polls are Donald Trump, Ben Carson, right now Carly Fiorina had a bump, and Ted Cruz. Three of them have never served in an elected position before, and the other one, Ted Cruz, is in his first ever elected position in the U.S. Senate in his first term. So I think the people are tired of the establishment, the lies, the broken compass of Washington, D.C., and they want true citizen representation. John McCain's numbers are down because he's essentially not held to his promises. And in my life, the way that I was raised by my parents is if you make a promise, you keep it. I have plenty of my issues that we're not going to get to today, so I just wanted folks, if they want to know where I stand on my platform, my written papers, my plans for our country, and learn a little bit more about me, to definitely go to my website, which is at Malusky.com. That's MELUSKEY.com. I'm throwing in that little shameless plug, my man, because, hey, we don't need to meet John McCain dollar for dollar, but we need to get some money into this campaign because, I'm going to put a lot because I care too much about this country not to be involved, and not to be involved would be saying, well, it's not the American way.
Exactly, Alex, and that's one of the major reasons why we wanted you on the air. It's patriots like you. You're not backed by any unions. You're not backed by any big special interest groups or lobby groups. You're individuals who have said, "Listen, my honor, my sacred honor, my fortune, and I'm willing to put everything on the line." My life.
I'm willing to risk my life. I am willing to risk my life because so many other people have done it. I think it's so kind of you to call me a patriot, Ken, but I've got to tell you the honest truth. The real patriots are the men and women of our armed services who have served our country. Those are the ones that are real patriots. I'm just some guy standing up because I appreciate them and I love this country too much not to. But I appreciate it, but I'm beneath them when it comes to, who are my true heroes.
Exactly. Well, speaking of those particular heroes, in fact, I wanted to talk with you regarding the VA situation in Arizona and around the country. We were told by the Obama administration last year that by now we would have remedied the VA situation, that veterans would be receiving care upon request. They would have options inside the private marketplace. I want you to give us an update on how things are going in Arizona and also around the country regarding the VA.
They're not going well enough. I definitely believe there have been some advances in the VA, but I'll tell you right now, one thing today, one of my staffers here in my office, he is not a resident of Arizona, but he cannot get his prescription refilled here in Arizona.
What?
They will not refill it. Yes, they will not refill it. That's not acceptable. I'm sorry, Ken, but if somebody has put their life on the line for our country, it is our duty, our responsibility to give them back the least that we can do, and we need to give them the most that we can offer them. They are our true golden children of this country. They protected me. They protected you. They protected my family. They've allowed me to succeed in life. It's unacceptable. And can I share two bills that I have that are really short that I'm going to propose to Congress, to the Senate, right when I get in there?
Go right ahead. Yes, sir.
All right. I just want to make sure I start going on. I don't want to take all the air away from my friend. First one, I will propose one bill initially that every member of the legislative branch, executive branch, and judicial branch must be same health care as our veterans and their families. Thank you.
I'm for that.
You know what?
Yeah.
I like to shame them, and I like to say what the problem is. Because there is the issue, there is a problem, but you need to give solutions. You just can't moan about it. I just can't go out there and say, ha ha. No, I'll give them a solution. The solution will be, and here's a second bill, put right behind it, that the alternative is that every veteran will get a card, and they can call it the Great American Card, whatever card the veterans, and let them decide because it's their card. They can have where every single bit of their medical information that would be shared privately with a doctor or healthcare provider or any kind of medical facility would be on that card. They get to go into any of these facilities and get their taken care of, paid in full. Because the bottom line is they can take it anywhere in this world, anywhere in the world, and get it paid in full right on the spot by the federal government. Because the thing is, they sacrifice, they go out there, they will defend us from people that would do us harm anywhere in this country or abroad. So we need to take care of them on the flip side.
For the sake of time, because we're going to run. I want to sit down and talk with you in great detail. We're going to have you come back over the few weeks. But a lot of people would ask. I mean, you're going up against John McCain, who is, a virtual billionaire. There are other people who are running in this particular race who have served in the governance in Arizona. Why did you get into this particular race? And why should people support you throughout the course of this particular race?
Well, I got into the race because I knew that none of the good congressmen that might consider getting in were going to get in for whatever reasons. I saw nobody else getting into this. I was disgusted with the moral compass of Washington, D.C. I know that John McCain doesn't represent me. I also understand that I do not have any pre-established positions in government. I unfortunately believe that when people start playing the games that even state or federal offices hold, that they start playing by a different set of rules. I am strongly tied to this Constitution that I carry in my pocket every day and everywhere I go. Those are the only rules I'm going to play by. Another person is running who has served in the Arizona Senate. I just beg people to look at our records. And I don't have a political grassroots record. I have a business professional record, and I also have a personal record. And if people are welcome to look at my treatment of other human beings and if my promise has been held, and I think they could tell if it's pretty good. And there's no waiting in line to do this. There really isn't. Ben Carson, Donald Trump, Carly Fiorina are running. And then in the Senate right now, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, and Mike Lee are all in their first ever terms as elected officials. And they stand up for our Constitution pretty darn well. I know I will stand up because that's my promise I've made to myself. That's my promise I've made to God. That's my promise that I've made to the people.
Ken and Alex, if I could jump in for a minute here. Alex, listening to you talk about your background, when you look at the people who are ahead of the polls for the Republican presidential nomination, Trump, Fiorina, and Carson, none of them have ever held public office. What does that say to you about the mood of the country?
That exactly, as I think I said it earlier, they're believing in the words that Thomas Jefferson put out there, that we should be able to cull our representation from the people, have them go in there, make law, and then get out and live under the laws that they create. There are too many people that have been in there 25, 30 years that are not in touch with the people. They have no clue what's going on. I built my own business from scratch. I built it, not the United States government, and I went through their regulations, and I've lived in every single tax bracket imaginable, from building my business, from working 2 extra jobs along with building my business, all along to having a successful business and then being regulated back down a little bit. So I think they're sick and tired of the establishment, of the lies, of people not holding up to promises.
Absolutely, positively correct. Listen, there are others who are out there who are empowered by Donald Trump's run, who are empowered by Ben Carson, Dr. Carson, empowered by Carly Fiorina, and they would like to, take a look at their state level as well, someone who's going to represent them in the U.S. Senate. How can people get in contact with you? How can they get to your Facebook site, or how do people connect with the power of your grassroots movement?
Very easily, and I want to let them know that they can go to my website, but realize that this will be the third largest race in the United States this year. After John McCain, you're going to have the Democratic and the Republican primaries, and after that, it's us. But they can go to Meluskey.com, MELUSKEY.com. The links to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter are all on them. It's MELUSKEY.com. Get there. We really, really would love your support. Learn more about me. I'm an open book. You can have everything but my ATM code.
You are a wonderful human being and just a prolific constitutionalist. We look forward to you coming back during the rest of this particular campaign season. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless you as well. We need more men and women like that running for office. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a mighty, mighty big show, and we're glad that you're tuned in with us here in the great Renaissance radio station of WNJC 1360 AM. Listen, we have Michael Thompson coming up. We have Professor William Anderson coming up. But even better, we have some great announcements coming up, and we want you to be a part of that. Stay tuned. I lost my seat. Oh, my God. All right, right.
You mean I can? You mean I have to do this all by myself? You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia. This is what makes live radio so much fun. And around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AMFM247.com. This is why we have co-hosts. One drops the ball, the other one picks it up and runs it in. Kind of sounds like that Denver Broncos football game last night. Don't go away, Ken and I will be right back.
You've heard Paul Deltz playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night at Concord Bridge in Trenton. For freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired as I am about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. Businessman there, drink my wine. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
If you would like to hear rebroadcasts of our wonderful show today, please check out our websites, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. On mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. We have with us a great author, writer, and social manager with WND.com. And I know everyone who's listening to our station reads WND.com, World News Daily. Michael Thompson, and we are glad that he's with us today. Michael, thank you so much. It's Biden time.
Well, hey, it's my pleasure to come on to talk to your audience, and more importantly, to talk about a new book that WND Books just published, Biden Time, in his own words. And it's a book about a gentleman who's soon to be one of the main Democratic candidates for president, Mr. Joe Biden.
Let's get this straight. When someone comes to you and says, I want to write a book about a very authentic, powerful, just historical figure, does Joe Biden come to mind?
No, it's funny. This is actually a project that we at WND and our subsidiary WND Books, we decided to put together. It's just a compilation. It was compiled by Mike Toll, and he was contracted to do it, so that's why I'm going to talk about it. And we just felt that this was an opportunity to piece together what is an incredible catalog of some pretty shocking things that have been stated by a man who could soon have his finger on the United States nuclear arsenal.
I'm sorry. I want to be serious in this interview. I want to take this so seriously. But when I think of Vice President Joe Biden, the first thought comes to mind was his comments about people that work at the 7-Eleven. So I can't. Is there something that should make me want to take him seriously as a presidential candidate?
Well, no, and of course, for your audience out there, you're talking about the quote,
you cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking. I mean, no, there really isn't anything that should make you consider him a real candidate. And I think that again shows you somewhat of the nature of modern liberalism in a lot of ways, and where the Democratic Party's headed. That this is the guy that you have who's one moment away from becoming the president of the United States of America, president. And this book, Biden Time, it really does show you. Really, I think the chapter entitled "Creepy Uncle Joe" kind of encapsulates exactly what the vice president kind of is. He's that uncle that you really don't want to have over for Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner.
I mean, everyone remembers the picture of him standing behind the wife of the official who was being sworn in, and he's massaging her shoulders and whispering in her ear. She just has this awkward look. The creepy Joe that he is there when you take a look at him in terms of foreign policy, because that was where his great affinity apparently was with dealing with political issues. Is there anywhere there that shows that he has a there and any competency whatsoever in terms of foreign policy?
Well, I think we have to look at I'll put it in the context for your audience and for you in terms of a way a lot of people are attacking Donald Trump. Here's a guy who is a business. If you think of one of the top American businessmen of all time, Donald Trump is in that conversation. And people attack him for not having for not being able to tell some names. I think the big debate. Or the big discussion was about Hugh Hewitt in some radio interview where he was going off on all these Arab names, and Mr. Trump said, you ask anyone who's an expert, they'd probably have trouble with those names. And Donald Trump is right. He's going to want to surround himself with competent people who are thought leaders and who had that experience. And with Joe Biden, no, I think it's like with any of our politicians. All these guys are people who decided to run for office. What qualifications do you really need to run for office except to not be a felon and to be a certain age? I mean, it's one of the really sad things about how we vet our politicians.
Hillary might challenge that idea about felony. So
well, unfortunately, Rand Paul might too. But if you watch the debate, Rand Paul seemed his view was just let everyone out of jail because no one's really doing any crimes. It's all because of whether it's discrimination or it's just silly. But no, you're right. That's a great point. That's a great point.
Rick Trader, you have a comment, a question here.
Yeah, Michael, you were talking with Ken about going to Joe Biden's house or not wanting to go to Joe Biden's house for Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I want to pass on a story to you. I want to pass on a story for you. Being in the media, I can't divulge my source, but it was somebody who was very close to this situation. Joe Biden had a lot of landscaping work done to his house, for which he did not pay. The landscaper sent him bills, called his house, could never reach him. Well, this landscaper found out that Joe Biden was having a party. So the landscaper showed up at the door, confronted him, and says, if you don't pay me now, I'm going to rip every shrub out that I put in. Now, Joe Biden claimed he didn't have the money. So what he did was he went to all of his guests and got the money from them, which was about $4,000 to pay the landscaper. So if you're going to go to Joe Biden's house for Christmas or Thanksgiving, make sure you leave your wallet at home.
Well, that's a wonderful anecdote. I have to admit, I've actually heard that story before. Okay. So as you were telling it, I was laughing. I wonder if we had the same source. But no, I think I read somewhere before he became vice president, he didn't even have that much in savings when he had to do his when he had to show his as most when you're running for office they want you to show your W-2 and you have to file that I can't think of the form to show your net assets. And I want to say that don't quote me on this, but I want to say he almost had negative assets And here's a guy who spent his entire career in politics, basically. So,
well, that in itself is kind of a good sign. But what I wanted to ask you, Michael, has that changed since he became vice president? Because I don't think the salary is that much more for vice president than it is for U.S. senator, is it?
No, and Maybe I've got to say there is one reason why. Once you've been a vice president and you've amassed that type of notoriety, and you're in the public eye that much, you'd think he'd want to just go and retire and go give speeches for $30K a pop, and just go play golf a lot, like Barack Obama's going to do. Although he'll be making upwards to $1 million per speech, if not more. But which that's probably a better life than being president. Just look at how much President Obama's aged since he's been in office.
Yeah, but part of the problem, giving a speech, you shouldn't tell people to stand up who can't, right?
You're, of course, referring to, and if I could go back to the book real quick, because that's a great point, what you just said. I can't remember the exact details, but I believe he asked someone in a speech, hey, you want to stand up? And we actually, one of the great features... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Stand up, Chuck.
That's exactly right. One of the great features of the book is that we have QR codes. So for every page in the book, you can use your smartphone, and you can and then capture the little code in the book, and you can actually watch the video of the corresponding quote. Yeah, this is the second time we've done this. We did this with Colin Flaherty's book, White Girl Bleed a Lot, where you could actually go and look at the video when questioned. So you could be like, oh, these guys are they're lying. This can't be true. And then you actually get to go see the video of the knockout game attack or whatever it is we're talking about in that book. So we took it to the next level with this. And there are over 100 QR codes in this book where you can watch the actual clip. So you can see that
awesome.
We're not making this up.
That in itself is worth the price of the book. Somebody should, and I'm sure it's been done, but somebody should buy the book, take the clips, link them together. I mean, can you imagine the YouTube hits?
It's Biden time, people, everywhere. And every time you hear it's Biden time, since it's the end of the day and you're at the bar, you just go ahead and celebrate accordingly. We're talking with Michael Thompson today about crazy Uncle Joe. Yes, Joe Biden, presidential candidate maybe. And you're listening to us on one of the most formidable stations in all of the world, WNJC 1360. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. They are all.com. Now you can listen to our show at any time on our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. We'll be back with Michael Thompson and more of It's Biden Time. Take another swig.
They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show because it's Biden time, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. On mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. We are so blessed and gracious to have Michael Thompson with us from World News Daily, WND.com, social media manager, and as well an author and writer there. We're talking about it's Biden time, people. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, whenever Hillary or Bill or Obama's having a tough time, they've always turned to crazy Uncle Joe to make sure that they got out of it. I want to talk to you quickly, sir. Why is Joe Biden such an interesting piece when you have a Bernie Sanders, a socialist, running for the Democrat platform of president?
Why is he so interesting? Great question. Just as the Republican establishment and the Republican elite are so worried about Donald Trump going off script, Bernie Sanders has gone off the proverbial reservation from what the Democratic elite are really, seriously, they're very frightened of Bernie Sanders because he's being transparent about where the Democratic Party is headed. It's openly socialist to a point where it's going to morph into Marxism, and you see that with the bedfellows that make up the Democratic Party, with the complete embracement of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is openly hostile to the police nationwide, the LGBT movement, which is openly hostile to act when it comes to religious freedom, and Biden has been a lifelong Democrat. Here's a guy who he's like a reliever. You can call in, and basically the Democrats were so close to getting what they wanted before Bernie Sanders became the transparent of what they're going to. That's the end game. But Biden was the guy they could call into in the ninth inning to close it all up and win the game if you could before they go the full Bernie Sanders route.
Exactly. Now, I wanted to ask you, in terms of Hillary Clinton, isn't this a slap at the face of Barack Obama, who endorsed, pretty much endorsed Hillary over Joe in this regard? Will people remember that?
No, and I think a lot of conservatives are wrong and misplaced to even really worry about Hillary at this point. I really mean that. I think Hillary has a lot of problems with what's going on with the investigation to her emails, and more importantly, the fact that I think she's basically going to have to start playing catch-up. Can she out Bernie Sanders? And Hillary is, just like Jeb Bush right now, is treading water. I think that people really are very interested in getting away from anointing another member of the sacred class of Bush Clinton, and I think Clinton is passé at this point. I really think I don't think people understand what Bernie Sanders is tapping into, and in a lot of ways it's frightening where the country's headed, and I think that's why on the same token Donald Trump is so exciting for a lot of people who had given up on politics.
Barack Obama closed out the Franklin Delano Roosevelt era virtually when we received universal health care through Obamacare. He closed out the second Bill of Rights. We're moving quickly towards the third Bill of Rights, which is basically the UN Declaration of Human Rights. And what better person to lead us in that direction than a true aspiring socialist? Is there anyone left who is part of the old brigade of Democrats, the John Kennedy type of Democrat left that has any chance in the future of running for the presidency?
No, it's funny you asked that. I'm from Georgia. I'm from a suburb in Atlanta. That's where I grew up, and I was in college at Auburn. Famously left the Democratic Party back in the 2000s. The only guy I can think of, and forgive me, I can't recall his last name. He was the former senator of Virginia, Jim Webb. I think Jim Webb comes from that same cloth of a Democrat who actually was a Democrat because they actually cared about fighting for the American worker. And in a lot of ways, let's be honest, Rick Santorum is kind of sounding more and more like your traditional Democrat, where he's talking about putting American workers first over illegal immigrants. And in a lot of ways, he's sounding like a Democrat, but of course he's a wonderful Republican. But that's kind of what you'd want a Democrat to sound like. Whereas now the Democrats don't even care about the American worker. They're looking forward to replacing the American worker with illegal immigrants.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we're talking with Michael Thompson. He works in the marketing department at WND.com and WND Books. Michael, I don't think anybody like it. Jim Webb can even get the nomination in the Democrat Party anymore. I mean, the Democrat Party has gone so far left. When you got a Bernie Sanders, when you've got a Hillary Clinton, when you've got a Jerry Brown, I don't think there's room for a Jim Webb in the Democrat Party anymore. Do you?
Not at all. Not at all. I'm actually, I'm sad that Jim Webb didn't run for senator or for even governor, for that matter. I know Ken Cuccinelli was a tremendous candidate for governor, and of course the GOP didn't really back him that much in the 2012 election cycle. He would have been a wonderful 2014 governor race that Terry McAuliffe won. He would have been a wonderful governor, and he would have been a wonderful member of a future GOP administration. But the GOP elite didn't want to back him. Mm-hmm. And you're right about Jim Webb. He's an anachronism. He doesn't fit in with today's Democratic Party at all. And I'm surprised he's not independent now, to be just 100% honest. I don't get it.
Michael, and also when you talk about Joe Biden running, a lot of people, and we've had some guests here on the Conservative Commandos radio show and talking about a Joe Biden administration that would actually be like the third Barack Obama administration, just the same way as Dmitry Medvedev or whatever is left was nothing but a token president for Vladimir Putin to pull puppet strings on.
That's a great point. That's a wonderful point, because again, the Democratic Party elites, they're looking at the situation with Bernie Sanders just really attracting these magnificent crowds, and I think it's scaring them because the American people, by and large, aren't ready for that next step to what Bernie Sanders is peddling, which, as you correctly pointed out, is just a merger with what the United Nations is pushing, and